This video has been funded in part by the Guild via Patreon. Check out the links in the description or at the end of this video for more details. Hello everybody, my name is Chris Gildart, and welcome back to another episode of The Daily Grind, the show where I give you some tips and tricks on how to get the most out of the games we love. When Samurai Warriors 4 DX was initially released on Steam, I was super excited to power my way through story and chronicle mode just to get the save file up to where I have my PS4 file. Or at least I was before I found out that you don't get access to the DLC weapons right at the beginning. What? Yeah, this is something I didn't know going into the game, but if you're a person that imported the Switch version, you probably already knew that. Yeah, I even tried to figure this out live on stream and couldn't figure out how to unlock them. Now, you may be asking, why are the DLC weapons so important? Well, do you want to be a default weapon kind of guy, or do you actually want to get laid? DLC weapons tend to be the most powerful weapons in the game, and even if they aren't the strongest you can get, they are the second strongest weapons and will help you get through the early parts of the game way faster. For someone like me who's already played through the story mode of Samurai Warriors 4 multiple times on PS4, I really wanted to get my hands on those DLC weapons. And I'm not the only one. Many people have been asking how to unlock these weapons, so I thought I would make a video for those of you that either haven't figured it out yet, or if you want to know before you buy the game. But maybe I'm getting a little too far ahead of myself. Don't forget to give this video a like, comment with your thoughts below, and of course subscribe if you haven't already. Alright, let's take a look at how to unlock those pesky DLC weapons. First things first, I know for sure that you get the DLC weapons from the in-game shop. When you start things off, you're not even going to have access to the shop from the story mode. By the time you make it a few stages in, you'll unlock the store, which you can use to buy horses as well as break down and upgrade weapons. But you don't have the option to acquire the DLC weapons? This is weird. I remember when I bought the DLC weapons originally on PS4, I just had to go to the shop. I don't remember ever needing to do anything to unlock them. In Dynasty Warriors 8, when you bought the DLC weapons, they came with new stages where you had to defeat specific officers or achieve specific goals in order to unlock the DLC weapons. So maybe that's the case? So I checked the DLC stages and there was nothing out of the ordinary. So I played through one of the DLC stages and didn't get anything from it. So my next step was to go to Chronicle mode. In this mode, you build your own character and travel around Japan, meeting the various famous officers and making friends with them to unlock their movesets for your custom characters. So maybe here is where you unlock the DLC weapons? Nope. The shop doesn't even give you the option for DLC weapons in Chronicle mode normally, so it has to be in story mode. It's like I'm going around in circles. It's the whole NASCAR thing all over again. So I did some digging, and you do in fact get the DLC weapons from story mode, and they are in fact in the shop in the story mode. But you have to finish some specific stories first. Okay, that's just what I wanted to hear! The first stories I'd recommend tackling is the Oda and Takeda stories in order to unlock Legend of a Land United. Finish this and Secret History and you'll be able to get the DLC weapons from the shop. The Oda and Takeda stories are automatically unlocked from the start along with the Hojo and Mori. Now, I have done some research and devised a step-by-step formula to avoid having too many issues while also maximizing grinding.
How sexy am I now?
Like I said, we're starting things off with the Legend of the Oda, which opens with the Battle of Okehazama. We're going to want to be very selective with our characters because the DLC stages will also need to be completed, and they were intended for players once they've fully completed all other stories. But we're not gonna be doing that, so we're going to start off with a bit of a weird choice. You may think that because we're playing the Legend of the Oda, that we should at least be picking Nobunaga, but we're actually never going to play as him this entire time. For this stage, pick No and Oichi, and really aim to take out as many troops and officers as possible to earn some good experience. As you play through these stages, you'll also unlock items to equip and use mid-battle, so be sure to load yourself up with experience and gold earning items to help with the grinding efforts. For the next stage, Nobunaga's Ascent, we're going to pick Mitsuhide and No. For the conflict at Rokujo, we're going to pick Mitsuhide and Munenori. These will also be our same characters for Retreat at Kanegasaki. For the next 3 stages, Battle of Noda Fukushima, Battle of Nagashino, and Conquest of Kishu, we're picking Mitsuhide and Hanbei. Then to finish things off for Incident at Honnoji, we're going to be using Mitsuhide and Munenori. By the end of the Oda story, you should have a very beefy Mitsuhide and a decently leveled Munenori and Hanbei, with Oichi and No having a pretty good start. Next, we're going to be moving on to the Legend of the Takeda. This is a much simpler story with only 4 stages which all have pretty much the same characters available. Yukimura, Nobuyuki, Kunoichi, and Sakon all appear in all 4, with Shingen only stepping out for the final stage. So what I recommend is for Battle of Kawanakajima and Invasion of Tsuruga, both of these stages you should pick Sakon while taking Yukimura for one and Nobuyuki for the other. Then for Battle of Mikatakahara and Battle of Nagashino, we're going to pick both Yukimura and Nobuyuki. Now all 3 characters should have some decent levels. After finishing both Oda and Takeda stories, you should have unlocked Legend of a Land United, which is even more involved with its character select than the Oda campaign.
Oh, thank God I'm taking notes.
So the reason why this is so complex is that this story follows both Mitsunari and Ieyasu through to their clash at Sekigahara. So we technically have 2 stories we have to prepare for. Not only that, we also have to think about the DLC stages and who we can level up to help with those. So starting things off for both Battle of Yamazaki and Battle of Shizugatake, we are going to pick Mitsunari and Yoshitsugu. Now for Battle of Komaki Nagakute, Mitsunari is absent, so we're still going to pick Yoshitsugu, but to replace Mitsunari, we're going to pick Kanbei. Now with Conquest of Shikoku, Mitsunari does come back, but we really need to level up some other characters that will be used for the DLC stages. So we're picking Kanbei along with Takakage. For Conquest of Kyushu, we're going to go with Muneshige and Motochika. This one might be a little bit more tough with level 1 characters, so be sure to use some of that gold you've earned to reforge your weapons. The way this works is not quite like fusing weapons. Instead, what you're doing is taking one weapon from one officer and changing it to the weapon for another officer. It will keep all of the same skills, so you have to make sure to take a weapon from another officer that has pretty good ones. I would recommend finding weapons that have a high level of potency, which will increase the weapon's attack. When you reforge the weapon, it's going to reset all skills to level 1, so you'll need to upgrade them again if you already did that under the other character. Hoarder is another good skill to help get more items from officers. Connoisseur is the same thing but for weapons. Fortitude increases defense, Alacrity increases your speed, Range obviously increases your attack range, and Courage increases the damage you deal to enemy officers. You're likely not going to have one weapon with all of these skills, especially if you've just been playing on easy, but definitely aim for potency, then try to pick out a few good skills that really speak to the way that you play. Now keep all this in mind, because for Conquest of Odawara, we're taking 2 more new characters in. Ieyasu and Tadakatsu finally appear for us, which is really important because the next stage is Sekigahara. Starting off with the east, we're picking Ieyasu and Tadakatsu again, and for the west, we're picking Mitsunari and Yoshitsugu to make that nice and easy. Then for the final battle, the Osaka campaign, I'd go with Lady Hayakawa and Munenori. Now, like I said, you're going to want to equip your characters throughout this playthrough with items that increase your experience and gold. I would personally say to aim for experience first. Since you're lucky enough to be playing Samurai Warriors 4 DX and have all the DLC, with the exception of the weapons, available to you right from the start, you can use some of the DLC items as well. You'll definitely want to keep the Tensho cards in your first slot. It is a reusable item that gives you 120 seconds of a 25% chance for troops to drop experience scrolls. They are small scrolls, but this can definitely help you level up your characters early on in the game. The headband helmet is the same thing, but with gold. So you can equip that as well if you don't have any experience amulets. These amulets are a one-time use item and come in 3 different levels that give you 120 seconds, 180 seconds, and 240 seconds of experience drops from troops. There are also fortune amulets that do the same thing for gold, but like I said, you want to focus more on experience over gold. Now that we've finished Legend of Land United, it's time to take on the DLC stages, which are in Secret History. There are 8 stages, all with different characters and no connected story. So this is why we switched up characters here and there throughout all 3 previous stories. Starting things off with Sinister Beauties, we're going to be picking Oichi and No.
Now do you see the method to my madness?
Yes, this is the whole reason we didn't pick Nobunaga at the beginning of this process. You may need to reforge some weapons as well throughout these stages. Again, Secret History was meant to be played after finishing every last story that's in the base game. So these stages assume you've had time to play and level up these characters. I mean, all of these stages' difficulty is 9 out of 10 stars. If you do fail this or any stage, you can at least know that the characters I've selected are in the 3 stories you've already played through. So go back to one of those stages that I mentioned before for that character and do another playthrough of that stage before taking the DLC one on again. Now that we're done with Sinister Beauties, for Men of Charm and Courage, we're going to pick the Sanada brothers, Yukimura and Nobuyuki. The next stage, Fathers and Children, is probably going to be one of the hardest stages through this playthrough. We're going to be taking Takakage and Hayakawa in, who each only played through one stage through this process, meaning they'll probably be around level 10 or lower. You may need to go back to Legend of Land United. Now, both of these characters are in different stages too, so you'll have to replay Conquest of Shikoku for Takakage and the Osaka campaign for Hayakawa if you just don't go through free mode. But not to fear, the next stage, Nobunaga's Great Crisis, will probably be one of the easiest ones because Mitsuhide definitely got a lot of time to grind, while No had a good amount of stages. So we're gonna take those 2 into this one. Then it's Test of Wits, which only allows you to use Hanbei and Kanbei, and now it's a 2-parter with East versus West, and separate stages for each side. For the Eastern Army, we'll be picking the Sanada brothers again. Now the Western side is the other hardest stage because we'll be taking either Muneshige or Motochika along with Takakage. Now you could just do Muneshige and Motochika, but you may need to replay Conquest of Kyushu in Legend of Land United to level them both up. And with that, we'll finish all of this off with Mitsunari's disappearance. And in this stage, we're going to be playing as Yukimura and Sakon. Once you finish this last stage, you'll be greeted with a message that you can now obtain the DLC weapons from the shop in the story mode. And with that, it is done. You can now take a sigh of relief as you use these newfound weapons to power your way through the rest of the game. In the end, I know that I overcomplicated the process, but while I was originally going through these stories, I was thinking that I wish I knew who to take into each stage before I got to the DLC ones. They were way harder than some of the stages in Legend of Land United, but hopefully I can just help to better prepare some people for taking this on if they want those weapons right away. And that's really my main goal with these daily grinds. I may come up with these elaborate methods to unlock different things or grind away at different games, but you don't have to listen to all of my ramblings if you just want to know the bare minimum requirements. You can also choose not to go for the DLC weapons until you've finished all of the stories first, or maybe you even want to finish Chronicle mode on top of that before you get these weapons. There's no one right way to handle these DLC weapons. It's all up to how you want to play the game and what sort of experience you want. That is, unless you want to get laid, score another for DLC weapons, woo! Anyways, everyone, thank you so much for watching this episode of The Daily Grind. If you enjoyed it, give it a like and subscribe for more. Also, what other games or things do you want to see me cover on this show? Let me know in the comments below. And if you'd like to help support this channel and what I do here, you can join the guild just like these awesome people that you're seeing on screen right now. You can join them at the end of every single video for just $1 a month over on Patreon, or you can donate in a one-time fashion and join the volunteer unit over on Ko-fi. A special shout out to my guild generals Biggie Beg Beg and Lou Goose for supporting this channel at the top tier. There are other rewards in other tiers as well, so check out the links that you see on screen, and I will see you all down in the comments.